What's going on, Illumineers, and welcome back to the madness. And we are so close to Reign of Jafar, and there's some really cool deck ideas out there, so stick around because I think you're gonna have some fun with them. I've got some top tier decks that I think are gonna be really powerful, but I've also got some fun local stuff. So let's kind of just start talking about a couple things. Remember, one thing that we got a couple tournaments coming up, but I also want you guys to remember that this set, they're doing the pre-release stuff, so there's going to be packs sent out. So for example, Safari Zone on, I think, May 31st is doing a pre-release sealed event. So for 30 bucks, you're going to get 8 packs. Like that's a pretty good deal. So make sure you're checking out your local stores, getting in on those pre-release events, things like that. Huge shout out to Ravensburger for making these pre-release events a thing and making it possible, getting the product to the stores. Meanwhile, we do have some events coming really early. We got the Safari Zone Reign of Jafar 5K tournament. That's going to be the same weekend as the CCS 10K, but it's up northeast, right? So if you're in the area, we're capping it at 120 people. We did the last one, it was a 3K for we had about 70-ish people. Everyone had a really great time. The store is awesome, the people are friendly, and you guys will love it. We got a lot of food in the local area too, so definitely come check out that in Smyrna, Delaware. And then also the Ink 10 case invitational that I'd imagine Garrick will probably be casting. There's already 2 Worlds invitees that are going to be there, one of them being Kurt Spice, I know off the top of my head. It's going to be an amazing event. That's going to be June 7th, so make sure you guys check out that one. Last time I checked, they had like 5 slots left, okay? So, but check it out. If you're in that area, this is going to be in the Baltimore area, make sure you check out that event. But ladies and gentlemen, let's check out the list. And this first list that we're looking at might be one of my favorites so far, okay? It's Amber Steel, and this is the only Amber Steel list that I'm going to be showing in this video. I'm going to do a separate video on all my thoughts of Steel Song in this next set. I'm talking about what I think the best version is going to be and the different Amber Steel variants that you can run. But this video is just talking about, new decks, right? And this one in particular, I'm really excited about. You're going to see a gameplay with me on Ink Table versus a Kiwi variant that I'm going to show on this. But I think the deck is just fun. I think it has a really good aggro approach. You're running this just-in-time package that got pretty popular in the last set, doing wonderful things like Chin-Po or Nani. Of course, just-in-time could also bring you Beast, but with this, we're focusing on the bodyguards. So with all the bodyguards, though, we're running heavy aggro like Daisy, Piglet, Bolt, even the Dot coming in that can help you play these heavier characters like the Mittens, Nani, Chin-Po, and the Chief Bogo. So just trying to capitalize on a lot of things. We have Rhino, which is I think it's one of the best cards to come out this set. I think it's just such a powerful shift package, being able to control the board really well, but also questing for 2 if that's what you want to do. And then the 1-drop isn't terrible. The giving that -1 strength later in the game can be kind of important. And then of course Chief Bogo, he's just amazing. Chief Bogo, like, if you get him down, is so good. Remember, when this character is there, when one of your bodyguards gets banished, you flip the top card of your deck, and if it's less than 5, if it costs less than 5 ink, then you get to play it for free, and that's really awesome. One thing to keep in mind that's really cool, Chief Bogo, if you play Chief Bogo and it flips a Jim Hawkins and you have a location in hand, so let's say your opponent challenges and banishes your your bodyguard character, Chief Bogo lets you flip that Jim Hawkins, right? So you play the Jim Hawkins, which lets you play a location and then also move Jim Hawkins to that location. So pretty cool. I think that's a really cool thing. So rules, we love them. But yeah, I love this list. I think it's fun. We're running lots of bodyguards. The Mittens is giving that +1 lore, really makes things powerful. One thing to keep in mind with this list is you're going aggro, right? Like, that's the whole point of this list, other than the Rhino, and so you need to treat it that way. Remember, your Jim Deere, your Prince, they're not trading, right? Your opponent is going to be setting up a board while they're banishing the characters you're playing. So I'm not entirely sure if these guys stay, but at the same time, it's been feeling pretty good in my little bit of testing between Ink Table and with friends. So the list has felt fun. If you wanted to change things up, you could of course drop these guys. You could go the Cindy package with Let the Storm Rage On and Strength of a Raging Fire. And then of course to make, all 12 of those fit, you'd have to make some cuts somewhere else as well. And maybe that's a Doc here and a Rhino here, something along those lines. But the list has been fun. It's been one of my favorites so far. But moving on, we have this one. And this one I found on the 20 Lord Discord. Lord Grimm made this, and it is fun. I think this deck is going to be really popular. I think we all know that this Dawgs approach is going to be really popular. But what I like that Lord Grimm did here is he made this deck more... he made it more than just the very beginning, right? One of the problems with Dawgs is if you don't see the tramp and to do the tramp into the Chernabog, you kind of just lose. Like that's it. The deck, I don't know. It feels high rolly. It just, I don't know. And with this version, you have the ability to go Stitch and then the Shift Stitch, and you could also 0 to hero. So if you go Stitch on 1 and then you go Ursula on 2, then you play, 1 drop on, turn 4. Of course, you can shift, but on turn 2, you can sing 0 to hero to shift the Stitch. So that feels really good because then you can just start going crazy and you can make this huge, magnificent, massive board, and you only need 4 cards to make that combo happen. So when you can mulligans or alter 7, it's not entirely uncommon. If you wanted to go really crazy, you could of course go the kind of Decandio route with Rockstar Stitch, where you add the Pride lands and then you have to add a Prince. So there are a lot of options in there that you can make the Pride lands work though. But the list felt really good. You have the heavy aggro start. You have the really overpowered high questers. You have the new tramp that's letting you draw a bunch of cards. And that's another thing. You could also 0 to hero tramp to play this big tramp that's a 2/8 that literally nothing is getting rid of really except for like Brawl. So I think red is going to be really popular really early on. That red, purple, and blue, red, of course. I think we'll see some red, green action as well. So be careful with that one. Brawl is going to be pretty Dangerous early on. But I like the list a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. Like I said, you could try the Simba, Simba or just any Prince and Pride lands. You could even do Flynn Rider and Pride lands. That Flynn Rider letting you quest, and then if you don't see Pride lands, you're not upset about it. Flynn Rider being a Prince. So something to try there as well. So next up on our list, we do have some Blurple, and I had to throw this one out there. It's not very new, right? This is extremely familiar, and what we've done with this list is you'll notice there's no Gastons. There's like that's the really big thing here. The Gastons were removed for the Monstro, and the Monstro, well, he's a monster, right? He is a whale of a good time. I'll stop. He is just a good card, right? He's a 6/8. A lot of the time you have the ability when you're running things like Finders Keepers, when you're running Tamatoas with Popsicles and recycling those Popsicles, you're just drawing a lot of cards through your deck. And of course, Popsicle's not really drawing you a card, but it's cycling you closer to things like Finders Keepers, things like Friends on the Other Side, where you can just continue to draw. And by the time you get Monstro down, you have the cards there to be able to start controlling the board. Worst case scenario, you get to play a 6/8 that has Rush and also Quest for 2. So that's just pretty awesome. I mean, you can double ramp to get to this or even earlier. He's just a really good card. He's been really impactful. If you wanted to make changes, you could go, if you're really worried about aggro, you could always add in the 1-drops and, the crabs. And if you went that route, I think I would start with something. I think I would possibly look at maybe cutting the crabs down to 4. The problem with that is you lose the cycle power. If you cut the crabs down to 4, or if you cut the crabs to 0, you lose that cycle power of Popsicle, which is really impactful against like red, purple, and red, blue. But if that's not popular in your local area, but Dawgs really is, maybe you can go ahead, you can cut the Tamatoas, you can cut, maybe you cut 2 Iagos, that's 6 cards, and then maybe a Finders Keepers. 7. It's hard. It's hard to say because at that point you're cutting a lot of these cards that are really, really good into those really grindy matchups where you're really going to want them. So if you're really worried about it, maybe you do cut the Monstro. You cut that down to like 2 maybe. So you cut 2 here, 4 here, and essentially finding, if you're really, really worried about aggro decks, then you need to add something like Brooms and Chernobogs and Crabs, or maybe just Crabs, because if you have the Tipo plus Crab is going to be really strong, and that is something you can do. But I don't know, there's options that you could do, but this list, it's a 2-liner if I had it set up in rows of 8, and it's just consistent. It's the same Blurple list that did really, really well in set 7 that I think is going to do really, really well in set 8. And it just has that little bit of extra power now with Monstro being able to gain back that board versus Steel Song, because if they wheel you, so now against Steel Song, you just ramp, they wheel you. Now you can play Monstro and you have a full hand, and you use Monstro to just clear their entire board. So the Monstro feels really, really good into Steel Song. So the deck, it just feels good. Definitely give this one a try, especially really early on. All right, so next up on our list, we have Blue Steel. We have Kiwi coming in here, and I think that Kiwi, again, I think it's in a great place in set 7. I think it's going to be in an even better place in set 8, and the reason for it is Arthur. Like, he has a major drawback, right, in the fact that you don't get to draw on your draw step. With that being said, he's still a 6/6/3. The fact is, it is extremely difficult to deal with them. If anything, your opponent has to send an entire Maui into it, and that Maui gets banished. It's a free trade, but that's only after questing for 3. So maybe they send the Half Shark into it. Again, they lost their Half Shark. You got to quest for 3. Arthur is just a fantastic card, despite the fact that he says you don't get to draw during your draw step. So to help with that, we really want to be getting the really good cards in our deck. So we're running in Mulan and Simba. And the reason for this is because we just don't want the bad cards, right? With these Simba and Mulan lets us cycle through those cards. It lets us cycle to get to a place where when we don't have a draw step, we can draw this 1-drop and play it and draw into something else, and that helps us. Maybe we don't need the Fire the Cannons anymore because it's not green steel, so we draw into literally anything else, and we're happy with that. So now the one change that you could possibly make would be Namari for Beast, and I think that'd be a perfectly good and reasonable change because Beast is probably better, but Namari's newer, so going with a theme here, trying to make the new cards work. But that Namari getting a lot of attack when you're running these cycle cards, but also Namari coming in here, questing for 2, 5 health, and also letting you do that kind of cycle thing, right, that this Simba and Mulan are doing. Meanwhile, we still have the Doc for drawing, the Alice for the ward. So you could play Alice, and then you can Alice and ward your Arthur. So Arthur's questing for 3 safely that way, and then you play the Pluto or the Cogsworth, or maybe you'd be really patient. You have everything you need. You go Alice, nothing. Arthur, you kind of chill out, and then Cogsworth or Pluto after that, and then you go crazy. Alice questing for 2, Arthur then questing for 3+1. So now you get 4, 6 in one turn, and that's if you didn't quest with anything else. Meanwhile, we're heavy on the docks, and we have the 1 desperate plan. The thing here is, it's hard to say what is going to be better, but I really think it's going to be Doc. And the reason is Doc just gives you a character and it costs 2. So you can do these things with Doc while still getting a character that quests for 1. Meanwhile, Desperate Plan, you play this card, and that's probably the only card you play that turn when you're using it. And then you're drawing, 3 cards, right? Which 3 is better than 2, but I don't know. You lose the character, which Doc plus 2 cards, so it's kind of like 3 cards. I don't know. I'm not sold on Desperate Plan being better, but I do like the extra draw potential. The McDuck Manor is just being really difficult to deal with. It's 9 health. It's kind of, 2 lore per turn. Just really annoying, especially when you have an Arthur on the field, and they somehow have to deal with your Arthur as well as a 9 health McDuck Manor. So I think Kiwi is just going to be really, really good. The number 1 change I would make, though, like I said, Namari for Beast, right? Just haven't done a lot of testing yet, but Namari's new, so I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Moving on, we have our puppy takeover, and this is where we're getting into the decks that I don't think are going to make the cut for being super competitive, but I think they're going to be really, I think you could win locals with it. I think you could have a lot of fun with it, and you could really surprise people. And I think puppies is going to be one of those that you can really surprise people. And what we're going with here is just really heavy on the puppies. You know, we include the Rapunzels, we include the Ludwig, just because he's so extremely, I think he's just broken. I think he's broken, and that's why they had to give him yellow-blue, because of how powerful he is. But essentially, we have this really amazing patch that's questing for 2 when we have another puppy down, and meanwhile he has Ward. We have our 8 puppies. We have the Perdita, just really good Rapunzel value, but also getting able to shift into the Perdita. Now, with that being said, you're not really doing this on turn 4, most likely, because you haven't lost a puppy yet, so that extra ink isn't going to be super impactful. But we have that. We have the Thunderbolt, so most likely the go-to plays here are going to be something like Patch, Dalmatian Puppy, Shift, Thunderbolt on turn 3, and then you can start playing, you know, Lucky or this Perdita, which gives your other puppies Ward, and when she quests, you can play, you know, it costs 2 less to play your next puppy. Rolly giving support. The deck, it just does a lot of really good things. The things that are a little on are, do I really need these ramp options when there's so much ramp in the deck already? But if I don't, what do I replace it with? And then I don't really know if I need these items. The deck isn't really, it wants the draw that television set can give you, but television set's also kind of slow, and all it's doing is drawing, so that's not exactly awesome. But at the same time, when we have something like Pongo that's letting us play puppies from our Inkwell, that's pretty good. Canine Crunchies, giving that +1 health is really good. It makes all your Dalmatian puppies really good Rapunzel targets, and it's just extra 1-drops when we're only running 1-1-drop. So I think the deck is going to be good. I think it's going to be a tier 2 deck, and it could be better. We'll see. But it does have some glaring weaknesses. But if you can get out these bigger characters really quick, you know, they're all questing for 2, so that's pretty good. It can ramp. Ramping's always really popular. So it might not be so bad. I definitely look forward to sleeving it up, though, as soon as I possibly can. Definitely let me know what puppy list that you guys are running and what you guys are trying, because this might be my favorite. Like, I love it. I love the colors. I think the colors are bright and cool and exciting, and I think I just want Dalmatians to work. That's all. All right, that's all. So next up on our list, we do have Mushu, and this one is really interesting. Of all the decks that I put together for this video, this is the one that I've struggled with the most, because it's difficult, right? Because you want your opponent to turn sideways. But the problem is if you have things like Calhoun down, and they know you're running Super Goof, and they know you're running Mushu, they're not going to turn sideways. So you have to motivate them to turn sideways. So how do we motivate them to turn sideways? We run things like Mr. Arrow that quests for 2, Smee that's questing for 2, the Sizu, the Lawrence. Like, we need to run a lot of characters that questing for 2 or more. So I think there's even a world where I don't know. It's just difficult. I don't exactly know, because they have to turn sideways, right? But at the end of the thing to consider is they need to turn sideways at some point if they want to quest out, right? So there's that as well. One of the things this deck will struggle with, surprisingly, is Turner Dogs, because I've opted to take out a lot of the strength boosting stuff. We still have Moana, but she's not coming down till 4. So the Captain Hook is only doing 3 damage. So there is a world where if you're really worried about, you know, some aggro stuff, then maybe you cut the Mulans, you add in the Steel Jafars, could be really good. Another thing to consider would be Grandma Foz. The Grandmother Foz giving the questing for 2 as well as giving 2 Challenger to something is really good. Meanwhile, your opponent, it's another questing for 2 character that that has to be respected. So we still have the Maui's because Maui's really good. Mushu because that's a lot of lore. This Mushu being, shifting it on 4, and then all of your characters getting that evasive, rush, and reckless. Mulan just being able to, challenge those ready characters. This is the one card that is most likely going to be cut. I just think it's a little late. Mulan's most likely not sticking around that long. I mean, maybe she could, but because there's probably better things for your opponent to take out. But Mulan, I don't know. That one's a little tricky. Maybe it should only be 2, and then maybe you go to Lawrence to 3. And then Desperate Plan and Doc for the draw power, and then Light the Fuse, because I think Light the Fuse is just I think it's an awesome card. I think that Strength of a Raging Fire ability for 1, and then all you have to do is quest. And then if you quest and then you get to use this, your opponent has to eventually challenge into you. So if it's not a perfect trade, now you open up, the Goofy, the Mushu value. So that works really well also. I think there's going to be brighter minds than mine that are going to make Ruby Steel work, people that have been playing it for quite a while already. And I'm excited to see what they come up with for the list. I mean, who doesn't love Mushu, right? Maybe the cardinal sin is I'm not running 12 Mushus right now. But moving on, we have this guy, and this is my Amber Ruby Bodyguard. And in the description, so a lot of my lists I put description, like in the description I type all my testing notes. So make sure you check those out if you wanted those notes. But in my notes for this one is that it's a worse Amber Steel Chief Bogo list, and I really feel that way. I just think it is. The main reason I put this together is because of Minnie Mouse. I really like this, this 4-drop Minnie Mouse. I think she's really good, but I just think it's lacking some things. I think if you wanted to make it better, you could go a Mufasa route where you add in the Mufasas. Maybe you can cut the Daisy or the Donald Ducks and you add in 4 Mufasas, and you'd be happy with that. A Chief Bogo flipping a Mufasa would actually be a lot of fun. We have the Lumieres, because Lumiere just getting all of the, getting that 2-drop, that 2-drop, that 2, like getting these out of range of Big Sizu is pretty exciting. It gets out the, something like this Nani out of range of the Medusa, something like that. So I don't know. I just don't know. The advantage of this over the Amber Steel is you can play this Chief Bogo so much faster. If you go, Gaston on 3, then you can play Chief Bogo on turn 4, and then Bob's your uncle, right? At that point, Chief Bogo is flipping every single card in your deck as long as you have another Bodyguard on the field. And so I think the Gaston is just really exciting. So maybe my issue here is that Gaston needs to be 4 of Prince John, probably something else. If anything, we could do 4 Gastons, remove the Prince Johns, go 2 Big Sizus, and then 1 of something else. And that could actually be pretty good. Or we just cut the Prince Johns for more Inkables. That is an idea as well. Maybe we do add the Shift Mulan. That could be something. But yeah, so we go 4 Gastons, cut the Prince Johns, and run 3 Mufasas. I think that works. See, look at us. We're making decks as we go, just kind of thinking out loud. But I think Chief Bogo is such a good card. We just have to figure out how we can make them work really well, and maybe there's a 0 to hero approach that we take to make them work also. So let me know what you guys are thinking up and cooking up. I definitely look forward to it. We're doing a lot of cooking over in the Discord, so make sure you check that out. But next up, we do have my attempt. We do have my attempt at Madrigals, and it's not positive, guys. I have to admit, I want these Madrigals to work. I really want these Madrigals to work. They've been pushing Madrigals for so long, right? And every set we get some more, and it's just not cutting it. And the thing that's so disappointing about it is they're really trying to push this singing narrative with Purple Yellow and the Madrigals. And I get it. Great musical movie. The songs are great. The movie's great. But the problem is it has no good songs. There's no good songs in this list. And what I mean is you have This Is My Family. You have Bosses on a Roll. Those are rough. They're gaining you 1 lore. And the problem with that is 1 lore is nothing, because Ursula, who's going to be singing it, gains 1 lore if she quests. Ariel gains 1 lore if she quests. And then you look at these other ones, Antonio Madrigal, he's questing for 2, so I don't want to sing with him. We have this Madrigal, Isabella, questing for 4. I don't want to sing with her. Alma questing for 2. You get the point, right? So there's nothing in this list that we want to be singing those god-awful songs with. Unless, if we have Peppa down, then they gain 2, right? But there's so much setup needed to make that work that your enemy's already made it there. Like I couldn't even beat Kiwi on the play because I could get close. I could get to 18, 19, but it's just rough. It's just really rough. And I'm sure there's more that can be done with it. I'm sure that maybe I need to add the rooster, right? The rooster can gain you some lore. But it's just, I added the lanterns as a way to try and get out the Alma, get out the Isabella faster, because that's the other problem is the good cards in this deck are so expensive, and then there's not any good weaker cards. So I'll admit Antonio is amazing. Antonio is a busted card, being able to pull out all those characters, but it's just rough. And then Fantastical and Magical, that's just hard. I love this. This is probably my absolute favorite enchanted ever, and it might be incredibly unplayable, but we'll see. Time will tell. It's going to require some more playing around with, and luckily, like all of these Madrigals are sticking around, right? So maybe there's some more better purple yellow songs coming in the next set, because we're not losing any of these Madrigals. So that is really positive. But this is another deck that I'm going to keep tinkering with a lot because I want to make it work. I think it's whimsical. I think it's fun, and it's Madrigals and it's tribal. And I am a sucker for tribal. I love tribal decks. It's my favorite thing ever. And yeah, so we'll see. Let me know what you guys are doing with it. What kind of experimenting are you doing to make some Madrigals work? All right, so we know Madrigals are going to work, but I do have some gameplay with that Amber Steel Bodyguard list. It is Inktable, but it's against the Kiwi variant. They play pretty well, okay? I just played better, right? Is that okay? Moving on, but I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay. I talk over it, kind of talk about my altar a little bit. Yeah, it's okay gameplay. Check it out, and hope you enjoy. All right, let's jump into it. We've got a game loaded up. We are doing the Chief Bogo Amber Steel Bodyguard aggro thing versus the Kiwi list that you saw earlier. And let's kind of see what happens. So right off the bat, we're pretty happy. We've got the Just in Time plus the Chin Po, so that we know we really want that. Unfortunately, not a lot of Inkables, but we do want to ensure that like a 1-drop is going to be really important, but at the same time, we do want to ensure that we have Inkables to be able to play that just in time. So if we keep something like this, we do lose 2 Chinpo or 2 Chief Bogos, but we're only losing 1 card. So we're going to go Ink, do nothing, and then play the Piglet and do nothing, and then play the Chinpo. And so I don't like it, but I like it. We want the aggro start. That's the problem, but I love having Rapunzel, especially into Kiwi. So let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and do 2 Bogos, and we'll do that. And let's see what happens. Do we get... So no 1-drops, but we got Inkables, and that's what really matters here. So we can go ahead, we can ink this Piglet, and we can pass. So it's going to be a little rough, but the thing is, with Chinpo coming down on 3, we have great Rapunzel value on 4. So we can go ahead and we can kind of do this. and then we can play Piglet, and we can pass. Now, it is important to remember that this deck does have, strength and things like that. So Piglet might not live, but that's just the price you pay. Home all the Rapunzels. All right, well, let's go ahead and ink the the Chief Bogo, and we're gonna play the Just in Time, and then we're going to play him and put him in Bodyguard. And then now we can safely quest with Piglet for 1, and we can pass. So next turn, now we have the opportunity. We can either start setting up the Rapunzel value, like he's questing right there. And so we can start setting up that Rapunzel value if we wanted, which doesn't feel bad either if we wanted to go that route. So I think that's what we will do. We're going to go ahead and ink this guy, and we're going to challenge. Let's take out, because here what's going to happen is I can get the Rapunzel value, and then I'm going to be able to quest for 3 with that Piglet. So I'm just guaranteeing cards at this point. We choose him, we remove 2 damage, we draw 2 cards, and we get a Mittens, which is really nice. So that Mittens, of course, will pass turn. But that Mittens coming down, he has Bodyguard. Once during your turn, whenever a card is put into your Inkwell, your other characters with Bodyguard get +1 lore this turn. So that is a really healthy option that we can go with. Ooh, here comes the strength, taking out that Piglet. But no cards, and this is one of the issues with Arthur, right? He's a big boy, but now Arthur's all he's got left. But let's see, we're gonna go ahead and take out that Lawrence, so we can get some more Rapunzel value and lay down the Daisy at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and play. Always draw first, right? So make sure you do that. So we'll draw those 3 cards, and at this point, the game is just kind of over now. There's not really much that he can do at this point. We're going to go ahead and ink 1 card. We could just go ahead and ink this. Let's go ahead and just ink. We can just ink Bolt at this point, because we're going to play Daisy, and then next turn's going to be beautiful, because next turn what we can do is we can play this Nani, or we can play Mittens and then ink. Oh, he takes out my Chinpo. Okay. I did not expect that. So we'll go ahead. We'll lay down the Nani. Or we can lay down Chinpo again. That's fine as well. So let's go ahead and do that, and we'll put him in Bodyguard. And we'll go ahead and I got no ink. So let's go ahead and just ink this guy, and we'll play this guy. We'll give you -1 strength, and then we're going to quest here. And we're not going to quest with the Daisy. Remember, he's drawing no cards, so there's just no reason, and we'll pass. He draws no cards, so he can't really do anything. He could challenge, but he's only going to challenge for 5 damage into the Chinpo, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So actually I would have won this turn. So oops. I'm like bad mouthing. So we'll go ahead and put him in Bodyguard. It doesn't really matter. We shouldn't put him in Bodyguard, but that's okay. Oh, I think we do still win, because we can do this. We can do this. We can quest here. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and we just quest out. We let him take his card. Bang, he takes a Smee. And that's just kind of a little bit of the gameplay with our Chief Bogo. Let's see what he inked. Nothing that was like really bad. So he didn't actually play awful, because he kind of had to challenge in maybe not questing in case of Rapunzel values. But again, who expects 2 Rapunzels? And I think I even inked a 3rd one. So yeah, this is kind of just an example of this deck. You know, you saw the Bodyguards coming in, the power of just in time with that aggro approach. And then of course you didn't even get to see the Rhino coming in, just being able to protect the board so well. That resist +2 is so powerful on turn 2. And worst case scenario, he just starts questing for 2, and that feels pretty good as well. So that's just that's our Amber Steel rocking and rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the video. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, some of these decks are going to be really good. And this is not all the best decks by any stretch of the imagination. I think red-blue items is still going to be extremely great. It got some really good pieces. I think that we're going to see some red-blue burn, that DKP variant, playing, trying out something like the new Lilo. That's the 5/5/2, I believe. When you play 3 actions, she comes down for free. I think there's a world where you might be able to run 1 or 2 of those in there. So that deck's going to be really good. Red-purple, of course, you could add absolutely nothing from the new set, and it's still going to be a tier 1 deck. It just always will be, because the deck is just really, really good. It has the purple draw and the red control. Really good. So these are not all of the best decks. I think these are just some fun decks that I'm playing with that can be very good. Like I said, I'm going to have another video talking all things Steel Song and Amber Steel and going a little bit more in depth into those, because those I can go more in depth on, and what I'm testing, what's working really well, my thoughts onto what metas you'll play what. So definitely stick around for those. But ladies and gentlemen, man, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the little gameplay on Inktable. Definitely check out Inktable. I think it's fun. But ladies and gentlemen, with everything being said, I hope you have the best time. And remember, as always, stay happy and healthy. And I'll see you next time. All right.